I want to get this out of the way as quickly as possible here. PJ, we are going to speak as many words on the Atlanta Falcons game today as points the Atlanta Falcons put up last night. So you ready to go?
There you go.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Big weekend of college football coming up. A ton of games that are going to have a huge impact on the college football playoff. PJ, I know one you're watching particularly hard. You're a big fan of both these schools. Michigan State, Ohio State.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, am I really?
Top 10 matchup. Now, PJ, you're our Big Ten expert here.
Good for them.
Is this one of those fraudulent top 10 matchups that we've seen from the Big Ten multiple times this year?
No, I don't think so. I think
so. This is not Penn State, Iowa.
No, well,
which was a top 4 matchup.
I think
if memory serves.
I think going into that game, Iowa was, which is interesting because we all know how it went. Iowa was more fraudulent than Penn State, and due to injuries
were they?
Due to injuries and everything that happened during that game, you go back and watch it. Big things happen for Penn State in a very negative way, and Iowa's
8-2 right now. Penn State's 6-4. So which one was more fraudulent?
Do we really want to break this whole down? Like you really want to go there? I mean,
yeah. You said Iowa's more fraudulent than Penn State. Iowa's 8-2. Penn State's 6-4.
Iowa's very healthy, still can't score the football, and still is pretty good on defense. But like they also take advantage of playing in a terrible side of the Big Ten, a terrible division in college football. They take advantage of that, and they've remained relatively healthy all year, and they've been able to go out and win the games they're supposed to. Penn State has dealt with several injuries at very notable big positions, which affected them in a terrible way over the course of not only that game, but obviously the following game against Illinois. Now, the big losses to Michigan and Ohio State, you'll have that. But I would certainly say, even with them being 8-2, I was a fraud.
Wow,
even with Michigan,
the F word.
Even
the F word.
Even with Michigan, with like, I would say Michigan State is not a fraud, and Michigan is. Michigan's all right. But
they played down like a 1 possession flip a coin game at Michigan State.
No, that's okay.
Goodness gracious.
I don't know. But I think this matchup is between, two of the best, two of the top 10 teams in the country.
Okay, wait. 2 of the top 10 teams in the country by ranking, or this actually 2 of the top 10 teams in the country?
You asked me that. Yeah, you asked me, is it a fraud? Is it a fraudulent top 10 matchup? If I didn't think Michigan State was one of the better teams in the country, one of the top 10 teams in the country, I would have said this is a fraudulent top 10 matchup. So no, based on my rankings.
Quit yelling at me. I'm just asking you a question.
I mean, you're just trying to, you're asking for this. I know this is what you're asking for. This is what you're trying to do. You came at me with the Penn State record and Iowa record and all that good stuff.
I'm just trying to have a conversation with you, and you're just over here losing it.
Anyway, no, yeah, I think this is a solid matchup. It's gonna be pretty entertaining. We'll get to our picks later.
Fired up.
You asked me questions to poke.
Well,
you know what you were doing.
You're
just poking the bear, trying to get a reaction.
We're gonna know tonight because what PJ's, or not tonight, tomorrow. Because what PJ's saying is, if everything's equal and old most confident quarterback in college football stays healthy in the Penn State Iowa game, maybe there's a different storyline right now. But you know who Iowa's playing this weekend?
Well, I mean, if you watch it, they were up 17-3 in the first quarter.
Iowa's playing this weekend?
No.
The Fighting Brett Bielema.
I don't care. Yeah, they're going to win that game.
Well, if they win that game, then that means they beat a team that beat Penn State at home.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
You're right.
Transitive property.
Not the same situation by any means. When we played Illinois when Penn State played Illinois, there was a quarterback that literally couldn't do anything on the field. Like, actually, there were two because Illinois didn't have to throw the football. Anyway,
I'm just saying.
There was a quarterback who couldn't do anything because he was hurt, but, the coach, the CEO coach, not the, real football, couldn't make the decision to go to the backup.
Okay.
So who was 100% healthy. So anyway.
All right. So let's just do this back on track. Let's do this back on track.
4 defensive linemen out, and Brett Bielema took advantage of that.
It's fair. You also couldn't
have that same situation.
Also couldn't convert a 2-point conversion to save your lives. But
yeah,
that's
true.
That I'm not. I was gonna say that's neither here nor there. It is here and there, but we don't have to talk about that. I want to talk about some coaches in the next segment. Then obviously we'll give you our picks coming up here in a little bit. But PJ, there's a lot of surprise teams this week that are fighting for bowl eligibility. Now, when I say fighting, I mean that as a double-edged sword, right? Where you have some teams that they're like, oh God, we're fighting for bowl eligibility. This is bad.
Yeah,
we have to win one of our next 2 games to get there. Or you have teams that are like, holy cow, we're fighting for bowl eligibility. I didn't think think that was even a possibility. I had my calendar booked out after that 12th game. I didn't think we were gonna have to do anything. So I want to dive through some of these. I want to ask you which ones are. I guess you can kind of rank it if you just start at 0 and you can go into the negatives, which to describe how bad it's been, or you go into the positive to describe how good it's been. We could talk about some of these. The first one I want to talk about, because you have 2 teams that are 5-5, so it's the ultimate bowl matchup. Virginia Tech at Miami. Now, Virginia Tech, they are what they are. They fire their head coach. But Miami, coming into the season, they were number 14 in the country, I do believe. How surprised are you that as we sit here with 2 games to go for them, that they are fighting for bowl eligibility?
I am pretty surprised. Not insanely, because at the end of the day, that this is kind of what we do with Miami. We place expectations on them, and most of the time they kind of make it to mid-season before they start to disappoint us.
Hey, sometimes they make it to 10-0 in November, and they're number 1.
Very, very true, very true. But this year it started very early, so I am surprised that they didn't kind of follow that same script of starting the year pretty strong, and kind of fizzling out. And also, you got to look at the injury with De'Ara King and whatnot, and having to deal with that.
They were bad even when
they were
healthy.
They were. No, that's very true. They lost to Michigan State and didn't just lose; they got pummeled.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know what Michigan State was then, but now we do.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But so yeah, I certainly more surprised at Miami, and very surprised that Miami's in this situation, and at the point still where it's to me, this is a 50-50 toss-up kind of matchup. I in no way and very confident that Miami's going to go out there and get it done.
Well, if they don't get it done against Virginia Tech, they have Duke coming up. So we can pretty much assume Miami's going to be in a bowl game. But is it one of those situations where they get blanked by Louisiana Tech in a bowl game? That is that is the question. Another team that I find amazingly surprising here, and they're not fighting for bowl eligibility. They're fighting to stay alive for bowl eligibility. They have to go 2-0 the last 2 weeks. LSU.
Man.
4-6. We got Monroe this weekend, and then Texas A&M next weekend. How surprised are you that 10 games into the season, we're talking about LSU fighting for their bowl lives?
Pretty. And this is, I don't know if we were going to get to this, but you talk about the things we were wrong about preseason. And
Cam's not here right now, so we can't do that.
Understandable. Well, here's top of my list, LSU, because I believe in about this, July, something like that, we were talking about Texas A&M, LSU, someone else in the West, excuse me, who's the biggest threat to Alabama.
Listen,
out there.
brother, I had Auburn as my number 2 team
right
in the SEC West. So
yeah. Although, Bo Nix will do that to you. He'll be like, oh my gosh, this is the next number 1 quarterback in the NFL. And then all of a sudden, can't complete a forward pass. So yeah, I understand that, but no, I remember talking about Texas A&M or LSU and debating that back and forth, and really strongly believing in LSU, in Max Johnson as a quarterback.
How'd that work out for you?
Right.
Now we got a Nussmeier back there slinging it around.
Them not only being able to, run the football well, but also kind of have that 50-50 balanced offense of passing it, and it just hasn't worked out. Their defense hasn't been as strong as they have been in the past either, and maybe that's partly the offense's fault for for struggling so much too.
It's okay. They're like the Falcons. They're bad on both sides.
Yeah, right. But it's been insanely surprising, and even, so surprising enough. I think that's one of the biggest, if not biggest surprises to me, and
like,
definitely
one of the biggest
things that I
one
was
of the biggest
I was
negative
wrong with.
surprises.
Yeah.
One of the biggest negative surprises. Let's get positive here. There's a team that I think is going to go 2-0 over the next 2 games and finish 7-5, and that's Tennessee.
Yeah.
How surprised are you that we're sitting here talking about 5-5 Tennessee, and the remainder of their schedule is home against South Alabama, and then they have Vanderbilt?
Not to follow
Josh Heupel will be more likely than not is going to be 7-5.
Yeah, and not
Go
to,
to like a
follow the
Music City
same
Bowl.
script as I said before, but insanely surprised. I thought maybe they would come in and they talk about all the people they lost to the transfer portal and everything like that. I know, obviously, you get a couple quarterbacks from the transfer portal as well, and it can kind of work with that. But even then, I was like, maybe they'll, with the new offense, with Heupel, I know he's got this offensive genius and whatnot, but how does that translate in your first year in the SEC, especially, in the East? Pretty strong defenses over there with Georgia and Florida and whatnot. So, which obviously they didn't play, great in those games, but still.
Well, no, you went 7-5 with the schedule that, as you mentioned, included Alabama, Georgia, and Florida.
Yeah. I mean, that's insanely impressive. So, not very impressed, very surprised by their success. Did I think they were going to come in and put up some points some games? Yeah, sure. But I was thinking maybe more along 3-4 wins at the end of the season, and you build from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, potentially 7-5, and to me, something probably 7-5 at the end of the year.
I find this next one utterly fascinating. You don't have to give me your predictions yet. We'll do that here in a little bit. But
gotcha.
There's a team right now that needs 1 win to reach bowl eligibility, and I think what you have here is a nightmare / reality scenario. You have a excellent, awesome, everyone's happy scenario, and then you have like a Cloud 9 build us coach a statue scenario. South Carolina.
Yeah. They
are 5-5 right now with just a skeleton of a roster.
Right.
And they're on their 3rd or 4th quarterback now in Jason Brown. They did have old Zebulon Nolan starting for them for a little while. He's still on the team.
Yeah.
And they're 5-5 right now. They beat Florida this year, and they have a game this weekend against Auburn. And then they have a home game the weekend after that at Williams-Brice against Clemson. So that's what I'm saying is you kind of have the nightmare / reality, which is we went 5-5. This has been an unbelievable start, but now you started to taste it a little bit where you're like, maybe we can have a postseason here. And you have Auburn coming to town, and then you have Clemson.
Yeah.
Now, you have the awesome scenario, which is where you win one of those games. I think every South Carolina fan in the world would prefer, if you had to give them a choice, to beat the second of the 2 Tigers. They'd rather beat Clemson.
Yeah.
Right? The dream Cloud 9 scenario is you win both of those football games. And they're both at home. So you would talk about a way to cap off just an unbelievable season for Shane Beamer. You have 2 more games at Williams-Brice. You have Auburn coming to town. Team who is very beatable.
Mm-hmm.
Very beatable. Because they're down their starting quarterback. And listen, TJ Finley looked bad when he came in for Auburn.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a fired up Williams-Brice, which I think is one of the more underrated home atmospheres in college football.
True.
When they get that the Darude, the sandstorm going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
It gets lit in there.
Yeah.
They have like the fire entrance. Like literally, I'm not describing that as like a fire entrance. Like, no, literally there's flames.
Yeah, there's flames.
Yeah.
You got the Gamecock howling in the background, just going on.
Do Gamecocks
What would you call
howl?
it? What would you call
Do
it?
Gamecocks?
What would you call
Do
it?
birds howl?
What would you call it? Like the really loud
Screeching,
cacawing that they have going
cacawing.
on.
I would say that's good.
See, I didn't
Crowing, I guess. Roosters crow.
Yeah, but that
don't
still
crows
doesn't
crow?
sound as great as it does in the game
I'm
atmosphere.
just imagining a rooster crow or a howling now like a wolf, and I'm glad I have.
Well, does it kind of not sound like that?
Not even a little
bit.
No.
They're similar.
If by similar you mean animals making a loud noise.
Yeah, in a similar fashion. Not the same sound, and that's where the difference is. But the same fashion
I'm just
of
I'm here for your
Same style.
I'm here for your wolf chicken hybrid. It's horrifying. And I would absolutely attend a school if their mascot was the wolf chickens.
That sounds,
What's scarier, a wolf chicken or
that
a chicken
sounds
wolf?
kind of awesome though. A South Carolina
What
wolf
would you
chickens?
rather? What would you rather fight, a wolf-sized chicken or a chicken-sized wolf?
Wolf-sized chicken.
A wolf-sized chicken would
Can you
absolutely massacre
imagine?
you.
Can you
would
imagine the beak
massacre
on that
you.
thing?
Can you imagine the talons? That would
Oh
massacre
goodness
you.
gracious! No, yeah, I guess a chicken-sized wolf then, because
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like a puppy at that point.
right, exactly.
It's
You
just
can,
adorable, but also you're having to fight a puppy.
yeah, and you have
How
that
dare
like,
you?
yeah, right. But it's still like it's the size of a puppy, but it's not a puppy. It's an experienced wolf,
Yeah,
right?
it's like a mad chihuahua.
But then again, they still got the. I don't know, man.
Or like a mad Yorkie
All
poo,
I'm
I guess,
saying
if
is
you want it
you
to be a
can't-
little bit bigger.
You can't be too cocky to bring it back
Stop
to South
it.
Carolina.
Boo.
You can't be too
Boo this
confident
man.
in that situation. You get overconfident. You're still dealing with a wolf.
And all of a sudden he howls and there's 7 of them. You're just
All of a
surrounded by
sudden,
little
he
tiny
howls,
wolves everywhere.
and for some reason, he still has the sound of a chicken. No, I know.
And they're chopping you down. Like those, what are those vehicles in Star Wars that they chop down? I don't know. Either way, we've gone off on a tangent here.
Yeah, I know.
That
You
being said,
ever get that point
South
throughout
Carolina.
your day where you're talking about something and you're like, how did we get
Oh, I know
here?
how we get here. You said a rooster howls. That's how we got here. Anyway, Auburn at South Carolina this weekend. I think dream scenario is you win this weekend, and so you already have it locked up, and then you can just throw the kitchen sink at Clemson. I think
Yeah.
the reality is probably going to lose that game to Auburn, and then it's just go time, taking on Clemson. All of a sudden, Clemson's 7-3.
Yeah.
And probably, if I had to guess, going to be 8-3 going into that game. They have Wake Forest. I'm not trying to spoil my picks there, but Clemson is a 4.5 point favorite at home over the Demon Deacons.
Disrespectful.
I'm just saying.
We'll get there. We'll get there, though.
And speaking of which, just catching everybody up right now, Clemson has to win that game this weekend because they are 2 games behind Wake Forest in the standings. But Wake Forest finishing up the season, PJ, with Clemson, and then Boston College, who's really good. So, I mean, could Wake Forest just come tumbling down back to earth?
Yeah, I don't know. Boston College is all right. I know they got their quarterback, though.
Philip Jerkovic?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
like
man.
that's
Sling that rock
they're
around.
solid with him. So got him back right at the right time. For Clemson, can you imagine after all the everything that's
Clemson's
happened
back
this
in
year?
the ACC championship
You
game.
gotta be
That'd be
kidding me, right?
outstanding.
It's just like how else? How can we get away from this?
You know who that helps out? Georgia, that's old strength of schedule argument. We beat the ACC champs, baby.
They don't need it.
We beat the ACC champs,
You
baby.
don't need a strength of schedule
If you
argument.
lose to Alabama in the SEC championship, you do.
Well, in that case, no. I mean, you guys have.
On that
it's
note,
been an all right schedule.
oh, you just call the schedule all right.
It's been all right.
Little dagger there as we go to break. We'll be right back after this. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. Got some high school football coming up for you a little bit later on this evening. If you were listening in Savannah, we have Benedictine hosting Luella in round 2 of the GHSA playoffs. I mean, PJ, got Calvary Day still in it.
Oh, yeah.
Brunswick's got a big one tonight against Tequila.
Yes, sir.
That might be one of the best ones in the state.
Yeah,
tonight.
that's going to be quite the game. No doubt about
I think
that.
Tequila's what, 8-2?
Yeah.
Coming to town, and one of their losses, and the only reason they're not a 1 seed is to Buford.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's
you think the undefeated Pirates can pull it out?
I mean, you talk about the build of the Brunswick High team and just kind of the program they have right now.
It's a large build. They got some big dudes on that team. They got the Florida State kid coming out of Charlton.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you got big guys up front on both sides of the ball. It's how you want a football team to look, especially hashtag down here, right? So you got the big guys up front on both sides of the ball, strong defensively, good on the back end there on defense. And what's funny is like a air raid kind of spread system that has 3 or 4 insanely good running backs that kind of dominate how they play, right? They love running the football there. And when they need to pass it, they can. So I think it's a really well-rounded team.
How about the year Sean Pender's having? His team's undefeated, won a region championship, obviously.
True.
Won a first-round playoff game. Now they're hosting Tequila at home. And they would be at home again, I believe, next week if they were to win because of the GHSA coin flip.
Yeah.
Also, his former quarterback is quarterbacking the number 1 team in the country, playing behind his former right tackle, who is the right tackle for the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah.
That's a pretty okay resume.
Pretty solid year. Yeah. For that. And now obviously he's most looking forward to this game tonight, but no, I'm sure he's insanely proud of those guys and everything they're doing, as of course, especially Stetson there being able to take the job and really make it his own and persevere kind of through everything that he's gone through. So no, it's been a really solid year. Like you said, them still undefeated. We'll see if they can get past a tough test tonight, but hey, this is the part of the playoffs, right? I mean that these early round games, sometimes just with the matchups you have, they get really solid, really good games that look like almost semifinal matchups. I mean, I know Ware County tonight having Calhoun. That's a pretty strong, obviously a pretty strong matchup there in round 2 as well. So and really intriguing also is always the undefeated teams when you get to this point. You have Brunswick High, Calvary Day, both undefeated. And changing that, I think the big thing is changing that mindset of we won the region championship, we're undefeated, we got through the regular season, we had such an incredible year and regular season, but now it's all 0-0 again. Like,
it's win or go home.
No one on the other side of the field cares that you're undefeated, right? I mean, and they've possibly tasted defeat this year, and they don't want to feel that again,
was in
right?
here,
So,
you would say that you need to lose a game,
right, exactly.
So you learn how to, and you learn how to not do what you're not supposed to do.
Yeah, keeping track of that. Well, then again, I mean that's how undefeated teams stay undefeated, right?
Well,
they do that while they're winning, but it is really interesting for me to kind of follow the mindset of those teams and see how they do. And I got 2 of them tonight there with Brunswick High and Calvary Day hosting some huge high school football playoff games.
Speaking of hosting a high school playoff game, which I think this might be the most impressive one of all, but MCA.
Yeah.
How about the old Buccaneers? They win in round 1.
Yeah.
They played 2 6A teams this year. They tied Glenn and lost a tight one. I don't know if they tight, but they lost a hard-fought game to still undefeated Brunswick. And that one was
tight
up
at halftime.
And that was up in Darien.
Yeah.
And so you have those 2 results, and they're a 3 seed right now in single A public, and they're hosting a playoff game.
Yeah, hosting the playoff game against number 4 who got the upset. But I've been saying it since I knew they were going to be a 3 seed. McIntosh County Academy is one of the strongest 3 seeds that I don't want anyone, because I mean, you think about that region, they were in with ECI and Metter, played both those teams really tough and didn't end up getting the victory. And obviously they go up to, so not only do they win that first round game over the 2, they kind of dominated it last week and kind of controlled that game. So Now you got the 3-4. I mean, McIntosh County Academy might be looking for a deep playoff run here from the 3 seed, especially up there at the Ship. That is not a place that people want to go play. So
certainly
it's going to be fun.
And just running through the schedule real quick here. PJ's got a high school game day coming up a little bit later this afternoon following 3 and out. Again, number 2, Decula's at number 1, Brunswick. That's in 6A. Ware County hosting Calhoun. You have Benedictine hosting 2 seed Luella at Memorial Stadium there in Savannah. Southeast Bullock got their first playoff win since 1973.
Crazy.
Last week. They're on the road at number 1 Cedar Grove. I'll be honest.
That's tough.
Yeah. That
Cedar Grove's always so strong.
You gotta be happy with a win in the playoffs.
For sure.
That result might get sideways in a
I
hurry.
think they won their first game like 76-0.
Cedar Grove's nuts.
Powerhouse.
Number 2, Appling is at number 1 Cherokee Bluff. Dawson County at defending state champion Pierce County. And then how about 1 seed Liberty County? How about 1 seed Liberty County?
Yeah.
But flip side of that, not a bad performance from Brantley.
No.
In that game, 4 seed Brantley took on number 1 Liberty and lost 30-28, I believe was that final score.
Yeah.
So, I mean, heck of a job there by the Herons down at Brantley.
You want a little snippet too? I know we're going through.
No, you're good.
30-28, had a chance to tie it because they scored a touchdown as time expired, down 30-22. They drove 98 yards in the last minute and a half and went for 2 there, obviously trying to tie it and didn't get it. But no, Jeff Cannon is doing a great job there at Brantley County. 3 straight playoff appearances for the Herons. And yeah, solid by Liberty County as well. You get that taste of victory there in the playoffs, and let's see what they do with it.
Kurt Warner and the boys up there getting it done. Single A Public, as we mentioned, number 4 Manchester at number 3 MCA tonight. And then over in Single A Private, Savannah Country Day is on the road. They're at number 1 Holy Innocents. And then Calvary Day trying to stay undefeated, hosting Wesleyan. Again, PJ is going to have a lot more breakdowns around those games, coaches' interviews coming up on high school game day. And then again, if you're in Savannah, we have Luella at Benedictine coming your way tonight. Pregame starts at 7 o'clock. Kevin Thomas and myself will be on the call. Even if you're not a fan of either one of those teams, if you're just a fan of college football, I mean, you got Auburn commit.
Yeah.
Out there slinging the rock around, tune in. We got a bunch of good players tonight on ESPN Radio Savannah. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with you our college football picks next, right here on ESPN Radio. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. 2 different locations in Savannah to take care of all of your uniform needs. PJ,
My man.
I'm going to be 1,000% honest with you.
Okay.
I try to be that anyway, but I don't have it in front of me. But I'm pretty sure you have to go perfect the next 2 weeks in our picks
To just to get over 500?
to have a chance.
To have a chance. Well, right. I said it all year. I'm right where I wanted to be, right? I'm right.
I got you right where I want
Right
you.
on the outside looking in the whole time. Just scanning.
PJ, you're not qualified for a bowl game yet.
Just
That's all I'm
scanning
saying.
from the bottom and just looking at all y'all's mistakes and seeing the trends of what you guys do.
Sure.
Now, with all that, I'm good to go. I'm good to go. 20 in a row here. Whoop.
Let's get after it.
And
Take it to the bank.
That's it.
All right. Again, all of our picks against the spread. I have made a surge.
Good for you, man. Happy
Cody,
for
I
you.
believe, is at 63. I'm trying to do the math in my head. And 47. Ben's at 61 and 49. And then I am at 60 and 50
Impressive.
overall. So, I mean, if you paid attention to me all year and just bet on what I was saying to bet on, you'd be in the maybe some in the green, maybe some
True.
cash.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, put that out there. So just 3 games back of Cody because he had a rough week. I think he went 2-8
Dang.
last week. So he had a
Surprising
rough
for
week.
Cody.
So and I made a little bit of comeback. So here we are now. And a really cool noon slate tomorrow. Obviously, I mean, the biggest game of the day is Charleston Southern, Georgia at noon, right?
Of course.
For everyone.
Are we picking that one?
No, God,
Oh.
no. I think Georgia's like a 50-point favorite in that game.
Yeah, I would have picked Georgia.
Yeah, right? No, so we'll start with the biggest game of the day, in my opinion. Number 7, Michigan State at number 4, Ohio State. Ohio State at home in the Horseshoe. They are 19-point favorites.
Yeah. And, if you go back a few weeks ago, I kind of tell you how this is going to go, how the last 3 games are going to go for
Mhm.
Ohio State. They're going to blow out Purdue. They're going to have a tough time with Michigan State, but still going to win. And then they're going to blow out Michigan because they own Michigan. So they blew out Purdue, and I went against my better judgment and picked Purdue to cover for whatever reason. So give me Michigan State. Following that script, 19 points.
Not
is-
straight up. You're just taking the points.
Yeah, not straight up. 19 points is a little bit too much. I think they're going to give them some trouble. I think this might be one of those games, a lot like you go back and watch. You watch. I'm slipping on his name right there. The quarterback.
CJ Stroud.
Yeah, my bad. You watch Stroud versus Penn State, and he struggles a little bit there against that defense, but also he just kind of makes some odd throws that you're not used to seeing. Maybe we see that shine through a little bit against Michigan State too in that tough defense. But ultimately, Ohio State gets a win, but I'm taking Michigan State to cover the 19.
I see this as like a 42-28 kind of a game.
Yeah.
Where Ohio State wins and they look impressive doing it and win by 14 points. But 19's a lot for me. I think Michigan State's going to come out fired up. You just extended their head coach. And so like any of the rumors of him leaving for another job just kind of got put to bed. Like $90+ million extension there for Mel Tucker.
Whew.
So I think Michigan State comes out fired up. I think Ohio State's just better and it's at home. But give me Michigan State. All right. This one, the biggest of consequence in the ACC tomorrow. Number 10, Wake Forest at Clemson. This is an ACC game. I know it can get really confusing with Wake Forest, but they are a 4.5-point underdog on the road at Clemson.
Yeah. And then they're always the underdog, right? It's just kind of, again, just, I don't know.
Clemson has to win this and hope Wake Forest loses to Boston College next week if Clemson wants to make the ACC championship.
It's kind of disrespectful to me. That's all I'm saying. Like, I know Clemson still has a really solid defense, but I mean, it's Clemson in 2021. It's not great. I'm going to go with Wake Forest. I'm going to go with Wake Forest outright to win the game.
Okay.
I think, the odds are, even if Clemson's favored, it shouldn't be by 4.5. Still think that's too much, and don't know if they should be favored. So I don't know. Give me Wake Forest either way.
I'm going to take Wake Forest in the points, but I think Clemson wins the game. I just think they win it close.
Right.
Like 31-28, something like that. Right.
Gotcha.
I think it's a close game. Clemson's offense isn't good. They still have a top 10 defense in the country.
Yeah.
Wake Forest has a really weird, fun offense that'll put up a ton of points. Ask Army.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Wake Forest loses this football game, and it sets up a must-win for them against Boston College. but I think they keep it close, like just a razor thin margin there for Clemson. And really, the only reason I think that is because it's at Clemson. Iowa State at number 13, Oklahoma. Oklahoma trying to rebound after just a rough loss.
Yeah,
talk about tumbling out of the polls. They're a one-loss team.
Yeah,
they're number 13.
Yeah, just dropping
right now.
dropping like a rock.
They're 3.5-point favorites at home against Iowa State.
Yeah, just so much of this, so including the ranking, is just
and Iowa State coming off getting beat by a 62-yard field goal.
Right. It's just with Oklahoma though is what team is going to show up, what offense is going to show up, and you add that run with Caleb Williams, who's doing so well. Then again, they had that slip up against TCU. Baylor's a really strong defensive football team, so it frustrated them all day. If they go back to Caleb Williams and stick with him, I still have Oklahoma in this one and them kind of running away with it and getting back on track offensively. I'm nervous about them flip-flopping between Williams and Rattler because Rattler did come in the ballgame there last week. But give me Oklahoma either way. To crossing my fingers, they go with Williams and stick with them.
All right. I think Oklahoma wins this one and covers. They're at home. Iowa State's been pretty mediocre this year. And I think Caleb Williams, he's a freshman. He's going to have off games.
Yeah.
Baylor's a really good team. I think Oklahoma wins this football game. Georgia Tech in South Bend to take on number 8 Notre Dame. Just kind of sitting there hanging out as a one-loss team, waiting for their college football playoff slot to open up. Notre Dame, a 17-point favorite at home against the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, I was really close to taking Notre Dame here, but since I have to come back so much, no, I'm going to go with Georgia Tech because I don't know. It just seems like if they show up, even in the games they've lost this year, I know they have a really bad record.
Fun. It might not be fun to be a Georgia Tech fan, but those games are fun.
Yeah, I mean, they're close basically every game. They don't get blown out a ton. And Notre Dame's one of those teams that they're going to kind of let you hang around a little bit. So give me Georgia Tech to cover. I'm
with you. I think Georgia Tech covers. They don't win, but I keep it within 15.
Yeah.
Number 21, Arkansas at number 2, Alabama. Alabama, a 20.5-point favorite at home. And this one, if Alabama wins it, they clinch the SEC West, taking on Georgia in the SEC title game. If they lose this game, the door's still open for a few teams in the SEC West. They'd have to lose again to Auburn in the Iron Bowl. But right now, KJ Jefferson, Sam Pittman, and Arkansas coming to town, 20.5-point underdogs.
And this is weird because, like, I respect what Arkansas has done this year. I respect their offense and Jefferson and what he's able to do. Respect their defense. Then again, I still look at this game. I never in my mind think it's going to be close. So I'm going to go with Alabama. I think it's going to be a 28-30-point game for whatever reason. I might be dead wrong, but I just think Alabama has this one in the bag.
No, I'm with you. There's just certain teams that Alabama mentally owns, and Arkansas is one of them. I think the Bryce Young Heisman campaign is well underway, but a lot of people feel like it's just by default. But I feel like against a top 20 team or top 21 team in Arkansas, a chance to clinch the West, he could have a quote-unquote Heisman game where he throws for like 400 yards and 4 touchdowns.
True.
So give me Alabama. This one, huge for Cincinnati because I feel like they have to win it by a significant margin just to give themselves a chance. SMU at number 5, Cincinnati, a 10.5-point favorite at home.
Yeah, and that's why I'm going with SMU. No, that's why I messed it up. Maybe I should. Maybe that's why I'm going with Cincinnati. I know they've kind of in the middle of their schedule, they've kind of toyed around a little bit and have kept it close with too many teams. I think they get back on track and start looking like the Cincinnati that we saw earlier in the year, that we saw against Notre Dame, where they really dominated that football game. Give me Cincinnati by 14, 15 points over SMU.
All right, I see the pick on this one. Quick, over in the Fun Belt, App State, 8-2 overall at 5-5. Troy fighting for a bowl game there. App State coming to town as a 10-point favorite.
Yeah, a really good football team. I'm going to go with App.
I'm taking App State as well. I think Troy's got to fight for that one at the end of the season. Over in Statesboro, it's already sold out. If you want a ticket, you have to go up there and fight somebody for it. Number 14, BYU coming to town. Apparently, Blooper coming to town as well. World Series champion Blooper coming to town. BYU, a 20-point favorite at Georgia Southern.
That almost, I don't know. I'm still going to go with BYU. I'll go with BYU too.
Yeah, I think BYU wins this game pretty handily. It'll be a cool game. You already have the new coach, Clay Helton, telling people to get out there and support it. It's a sold-out football game. Packing Paulson's awesome, and it is a different atmosphere. Georgia Southern's just not a very good football team right now. I think BYU covers, and they cover by a lot. All right. Speaking of teams that are fighting for bowl eligibility, Florida, a 9-point favorite at Mizzou. A win for either one of those teams will give them bowl eligibility.
About this 3-4 weeks ago, this would have been like a 20-25 point spread. But I'll still go with Florida. I just Mizzou just doesn't have enough to keep it close with them.
I'm taking Missouri.
Really?
They're a weird football team.
Yeah.
But they have some really talented players, and I think Florida's just given up.
That is a broken team.
Yeah.
I mean, I've
and
said
you have to go play a night game at Missouri.
Can be tough.
Yeah, so I'm
good
taking,
atmosphere.
I'm taking Mizzou in this one. All right, and finally, Auburn, 7.5-point favorites at South Carolina. Auburn's already clinched bowl eligibility. They have some different goals in mind, though. South Carolina, on the other hand, 5-5, fighting for bowl eligibility. Bo Nix not playing in this game, so it will be a battle of backups.
And again, I mean, can you even call Mr. Brown at South Carolina a backup?
Not after you hang 40 on Florida.
He's playing so well. No, I actually put it in the picks. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna flip my pick. I'm gonna go with South Carolina to cover, maybe not win outright, but with Finley coming in the ball game, like you said, not looking great when he took over.
Yeah,
and hasn't really looked great when he's been the leader of that offense there for Auburn. Give me South Carolina.
Night game at Williams-Brice. Over a touchdown favorite coming in. I think South Carolina wins this football game.
Wins it outright.
Yeah, I think they win this football game. I think they get bowl eligibility.
All right.
I think Auburn is going to suffer without Bo Nix. As weird and as just volatile as he is at the quarterback position, he can make some plays that TJ Finley just can't.
Yeah.
And I think South Carolina is going to be fired up. That stadium, you are not going to see a more packed out stadium for a 5-5 football team than Williams-Brice is going to be coming up on Saturday night. Probably 2 weeks in a row, because then they have Clemson the week after that. I think it's going to be an awesome football game. Maybe one of the games of the day. It's going to come down to the running backs, in my opinion. You got Kevin Harris going up against the tank Bigsby.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's one of the best names for a running back ever.
So you have two loads at running back going head-to-head. This is going to be a really fun game. I just think South Carolina pulls it out because that energy at Williams-Brice is going to be absolutely nuts. We got to take a quick break here. We'll come back with more right here on Second Down. Some breaking news.
Hey,
I'll try that again. Some breaking news.
there it is. Whoa.
That was
hey.
a little dead there on that intro. Apparently LSU, according to Matt Jones, KY Sports Radio on Twitter, very reliable when it comes to Kentucky news. Very good LSU source just saw Matt Jones's report and told him that the list for LSU right now sits at Jimbo Fisher, number 1, Bill O'Brien, number 2, and Mark Stoops.
How about that?
And apparently a third party for LSU has reached out to Mark Stoops about possibly taking over the open vacancy there at LSU. That pretty out of left field hire there if they were to make it happen. I'm not saying it's a bad hire. Mark Stoops has done an unbelievable job with Kentucky.
Yeah. That's still interesting. That's still interesting for sure. I don't know. Maybe
Then Lincoln Riley not listed on there whatsoever.
Lincoln
for all
Riley
the
not risky.
the Lincoln Riley stands out there.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. Then again, you might get back to the defensive prowess there, more of a defensive minded head coach in Mark Stoops, and just kind of look at the history of what he's done, and of course matches up very well with the tradition of having a very strong LSU defense. Then again, you look at the complete other flip side of that, and you have Bill O'Brien being offered
That's
offensive
nuts to me,
coordinator,
man.
well, a very offensive-minded coach, more of a, of course, NFL-style type of guy. I don't know. Very interesting.
You know, like it's not even
Wide range to me there.
not even a full season so far in the Nick Saban car wash. You're already ready to give him the LSU job. Come on. Like, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying people
Yeah,
out
no,
there.
I know.
Like Bill O'Brien, I think that'd be an atrocious hire, one that we're looking at 4 years from now and saying, what was LSU doing? 3 and Out coming up next. Guys, going to break down the Falcons game, talk some college football as well, and then high school football coming your way in Savannah after 3 and Out. For PJ Zuko, I am Christian Gokel. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Enjoy the college football. We'll talk to everybody on Monday.